Welcome to Study Hall, everyone. We're all about deep dives here, going deep into fascinating texts, and really unpacking those insights and exploring, what they have to teach us and all that.
Yeah.
And today we're turning our curious minds to the diary of Søren Kierkegaard.
Oh, very nice.
This diary, it offers a really unique and often kind of unsettling glimpse into the mind of this really influential philosopher, especially his complex views on love, women, and relationships.
It's a journey that promises to be both illuminating and challenging.
Oh, for sure.
John Updike, in his foreword to the diary, he warns us that Kierkegaard's writing is intentionally volatile and provocative.
Oh, wow.
Which only adds to the intrigue.
All right, I'm ready to be intrigued. Where should we begin?
Well, let's dive straight into the Seducer's diary, where we encounter Kierkegaard's alter ego, a character who masterfully embodies manipulation and deceit. There's a passage where he describes manipulating a woman into breaking off her engagement.
Oh, wow.
Claiming it's for her own good.
Oh, my gosh. That's
that's
so messed up.
It is.
Could you elaborate on what makes the seducer's tactics so manipulative?
Well, he meticulously crafts a persona designed to repel her, focusing on her insecurities and using carefully calculated words and actions to elicit a desired response.
Yeah.
He even boasts about his ability to appear as a scoundrel to liberate her for a supposedly better match.
It's so calculated. What does this level of premeditation suggest about Kierkegaard's understanding of human psychology?
Well, it reveals a keen awareness of how easily we can be swayed by external influences, how our perceptions and emotions can be manipulated.
Yeah.
Kierkegaard, through The Seducer, demonstrates a deep understanding of human vulnerability and the subtle ways in which we can be influenced.
Yeah.
He seems particularly interested in how societal expectations and pressures play a role in our choices, especially in matters of love and marriage.
That makes sense. The diary was written in the 19th century, a time when societal expectations around marriage were quite rigid.
Right.
It's almost as if he's using the seducer to critique these norms, exposing the hypocrisy and manipulation that often lurked beneath the surface of seemingly respectable relationships.
That's a fascinating observation, and it speaks to the multiple layers of interpretation at play in Kierkegaard's writing.
Yeah.
He constantly challenges us to question what we see and to look beyond the surface for deeper meaning.
Okay, let's unpack this further. There's this line after the seducer kisses her. Merciful God. What do you make of that genuine remorse or just another calculated move?
That exclamation, merciful God, throws a wrench into our attempt to understand the seducer's true motives.
Yeah.
Is this a fleeting moment of conscience?
Right.
A flicker of guilt breaking through his carefully constructed facade?
Right.
Or is it simply another tactic, a way to further disarm and confuse his victim?
I find myself leaning towards the latter.
Yeah.
It seems too perfectly placed to be genuine, especially given his penchant for theatricality.
I can see your point. His manipulation is so pervasive that it's hard to trust any display of emotion as authentic.
Exactly.
He's a master of disguise, and we as readers are constantly trying to see through his masks.
But if the seducer is a fabrication, a literary device, what does this tell us about Kierkegaard himself?
It's a question that has plagued scholars for centuries.
Oh, wow.
Some argue that the seducer is a reflection of Kierkegaard's own anxieties and desires, a way for him to explore the darker impulses of the human heart. Others see him as a satirical figure, a critique of the societal norms and expectations that constrained individuals, particularly women in his time.
And then there's Cordelia's perspective.
Right.
Her letters are a stark contrast to the seducer's calculated coldness. They're raw, emotional, and filled with accusations pleasing and a desperate desire for revenge.
Her language, unlike the seducer's calculated prose, is visceral and immediate. Take, for example, the shift in her address from my Johannes to my seducer, my deceiver, my enemy, my murderer. This escalation reflects not only her emotional breakdown, but also the power dynamics at play in their relationship. She goes from adoring fiancé to victim, stripped of her agency, and left to grapple with the wreckage of her shattered world.
She describes him as the source of my unhappiness, the tomb of my joy, the abyss of my unhappiness.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to read.
It is.
And it makes me wonder about the ethical implications of Kierkegaard's exploration of these themes.
It's a crucial question.
Yeah.
Is he endorsing the seducer's actions?
Right.
Or is he holding them up for scrutiny, forcing us to confront the uncomfortable realities of manipulation and its devastating consequences?
There's this other passage where Kierkegaard meticulously observes a young girl on the street,
Okay.
cataloging every detail of her appearance, her cap, veil, chin, mouth, teeth.
Yeah.
It's unsettling, especially in light of his manipulations of Cordelia.
This obsession with detailed observation is a recurring motif in Kierkegaard's writing,
Okay.
and it connects directly to his philosophical ideas.
Correct.
He believed that paying close attention to the minutiae of everyday life could reveal deeper truths about ourselves and the world.
Yeah.
But in this instance, the intensity of his gaze feels almost predatory,
Yeah.
especially given his later pronouncements about women as subjects for contemplation.
This makes me wonder about his view of women. Was he capable of seeing them as individuals, or were they just objects for his philosophical and aesthetic explorations?
That's the very heart of the dilemma that Kierkegaard presents to us.
Right?
His brilliance and insight are intertwined with deeply problematic views on women,
Yeah.
making it difficult to reconcile his genius with his biases.
And then, almost jarringly, we encounter this strange anecdote about a black tooth
Okay.
that suddenly appears, throwing Kierkegaard into a state of anxiety and superstition.
A black tooth.
Yeah, black tooth.
Wow.
It feels so out of place after the intensity of the seducer's narrative.
It's a fascinating shift in tone,
Yeah.
and one that reveals a surprising vulnerability in this seemingly detached philosopher.
Mm.
He calls the tooth a sign of denunciation
Oh, wow.
and compares himself to the Norse hero Palnatok,
Oh,
who couldn't erase a black shadow.
why would something so seemingly trivial have such a profound impact on him?
It's as if this physical imperfection, this black mark, represents a deeper fear or insecurity that he can't shake.
Right.
Remember, Kierkegaard was deeply concerned with themes of guilt,
Mm.
sin, and the human condition.
Right.
Perhaps this black tooth serves as a physical manifestation of his inner turmoil,
Yeah.
a reminder of his own imperfections and the fragility of human existence.
Perhaps the black tooth is a foreshadowing element,
Mm-hmm.
a hint at the seducer's eventual downfall, or a symbol of the moral consequences of his actions.
That's a brilliant insight.
Oh.
It certainly adds another layer of complexity to the narrative and makes me eager to see how this seemingly insignificant detail plays out in the larger context of the diary.
Well, let's continue our exploration in the next part of our deep dive, where we'll delve further into Kierkegaard's psyche and uncover more of the secrets hidden within his diary.
Sounds good.
Right. I'm ready.
Me too.
Welcome back to Study Hall, where we're immersed in the diary of Søren Kierkegaard. We've encountered the manipulative seducer, the heartbroken Cordelia, and a rather unsettling black tooth.
Yes, that black tooth has me intrigued. It seems so random, yet you hinted it might hold symbolic weight. Do we get any more clues about its significance as the diary progresses?
We do, and it ties into a fascinating aspect of Kierkegaard's philosophy, his concept of the knight of faith. He describes this figure as someone who can embrace the absurd, even seemingly meaningless events and find profound meaning within them. Perhaps the black tooth represents that very absurdity, a test of faith that forces Kierkegaard to confront the limits of his own reason and control. So instead of dismissing it as a mere physical imperfection, he's choosing to see it as a challenge, an opportunity for spiritual growth.
Precisely. It disrupts his carefully constructed world, forcing him to acknowledge the existence of forces beyond his comprehension. This aligns with his broader philosophical exploration of faith, doubt, and the inherent paradox of human existence.
That's a fascinating perspective.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if the black tooth also symbolizes the inherent flaws and contradictions within himself.
That's a brilliant connection. It's as if this external blemish reflects a deeper internal struggle. Remember, Kierkegaard was deeply critical of himself, constantly analyzing his own motives and grappling with his shortcomings.
This adds another layer to his character, reminding us that even brilliant minds are not immune to self-doubt and existential angst.
Absolutely. And it makes his manipulation of Cordelia all the more perplexing. He's so aware of his own flaws, yet he seems blind to the pain he inflicts on others.
Speaking of Cordelia, does he ever express any genuine remorse for his actions?
It's difficult to say. He does talk about wanting to poetize himself out of the relationship so she'll believe she was the one who grew bored. But it's hard to discern genuine remorse from calculated self-preservation.
It sounds like he's still trying to control the narrative, even as he prepares to abandon her.
He's obsessed with maintaining the upper hand, orchestrating every aspect of the breakup to fit his own desired outcome.
Yet amidst all this manipulation, there's this strange passage where he talks about all the women who will be secretly relieved when the engagement is broken, the ones who had their eyes on him all along. It seems incredibly self-aggrandizing, almost delusional.
Could this be another example of Kierkegaard employing irony or satire? Perhaps he's intentionally presenting an exaggerated, even absurd view of himself to expose the ridiculousness of the seducer's persona.
That's an interesting interpretation. It would certainly align with his tendency to challenge societal norms and expectations.
He even compares himself to a pawn shop, saying he can take care of as many women as he pleases. It's a jarring statement that forces us to confront his objectification of women.
This leads us back to his earlier observations of the young girl on the street and his pronouncements about women as subjects for contemplation. It's a disturbing pattern that raises serious questions about his capacity for genuine intimacy and respect.
His diary entries oscillate between profound insights into human nature and deeply troubling views on women. It's a constant tension that makes him a fascinating, albeit frustrating figure to study.
We see this tension play out even more explicitly when he reflects on women as an inexhaustible subject for contemplation, going into great detail about their physical attributes. It's clear he's captivated by female beauty, but his gaze feels objectifying, lacking in respect or equality.
He's reducing women to their physical form, treating them as objects for his intellectual and aesthetic pursuits. He's missing the crucial element of seeing them as whole individuals with their own thoughts, desires, and agency.
It's as if he's caught in a paradox. He can be so insightful about human psychology, so attuned to the nuances of emotion, and yet so blind to the humanity of the women he claims to admire.
It's this very paradox that makes Kierkegaard such a compelling and enduring figure. He challenges us to confront our own biases, to acknowledge the complexities and contradictions within ourselves and the world around us.
He doesn't provide easy answers. He forces us to wrestle with uncomfortable truths.
And that's precisely why his work continues to resonate with readers centuries later. He invites us to embark on a journey of self-discovery, a deep dive into the murky waters of human existence, where we're bound to encounter both brilliance and darkness along the way.
Well, this deep dive has been quite the intellectual and emotional roller coaster. Where do we go from here?
Let's continue our exploration, the final part of our deep dive, where we'll unravel the culmination of the seducer's story and grapple with Kierkegaard's ultimate message about love manipulation and the search for meaning in a world full of contradictions.
Welcome back to Study Hall. We are wrapping up our deep dive into the diary of Søren Kierkegaard, and I have to say this has been one of our most thought-provoking explorations yet.
I agree. Kierkegaard's diary offers a unique blend of philosophical insights, psychological complexity, and let's be honest, some pretty unsettling views on love and relationships.
Exactly. We left off discussing his objectification of women, his tendency to reduce them to subjects for his philosophical and aesthetic contemplation. But the seducer story isn't over yet. What happens next?
Well, in a move that further highlights his need for control, Kierkegaard, or rather the seducer, describes an elaborate plan to essentially recreate the setting where he first met Cordelia. He rents a room, meticulously arranges the furniture, even plans a book, a German translation of Apuleius's Amor and Psyche, to spark her curiosity.
It sounds like he's trying to stage a reenactment of their first encounter, but this time he's in complete command of the narrative.
Precisely. He's directing a play and manipulating not just the physical environment, but also Cordelia's perception of their shared history. Even his instructions to his servant Johann to make a casual remark about the book, as if Kierkegaard had left it there earlier, are carefully calculated to influence Cordelia's memory and emotions.
It's incredibly manipulative. He's essentially trying to rewrite their past to fit his present agenda.
And the choice of Amor and Psyche as the planted book is particularly interesting. It's a myth about love transformation and the trials one must undergo to achieve true love. It's as if he's trying to subtly influence Cordelia's subconscious to make her believe that their relationship is destined, fated, despite all evidence to the contrary.
So he's using literature as a tool of seduction layering in this mythical subtext to further his manipulation.
Exactly. It's a fascinating example of how Kierkegaard blends philosophy, psychology, and aesthetics to achieve his aims.
And then he starts writing her these passionate letters filled with declarations of love and longing. It's hard to tell if he's being genuine or if it's all part of his elaborate game.
That's the eternal question with Kierkegaard's sincerity versus performance. Is he truly experiencing these emotions, or is he merely a master of manipulating language to elicit a desired response? The letters are undeniably beautiful, filled with poetic imagery and expressions of profound yearning.
He compares himself to a river in love with a spring, to a temple dancer, even to the force of gravity that keeps Cordelia tethered to earth.
These metaphors elevate their relationship, imbuing it with a sense of cosmic significance. But there's also a possessiveness in his language, a desire to claim ownership of Cordelia's very being.
It's as if he's trying to convince her, and perhaps himself, that their love transcends the ordinary, that it's part of a grander design.
And amidst these poetic declarations, he's still constantly analyzing their relationship, dissecting every interaction, every emotion. He talks about how he's experiencing with her the emergence of her love and how he's invisibly present even when sitting beside her.
It's chilling to see so detached, observing their relationship as if it were a scientific experiment.
It's this very detachment, this inability to fully engage with the emotional reality of the situation that ultimately leads to the downfall of their relationship. He talks about how Cordelia has lost her fragrance now that she's given him everything. He's bored, he's moved on, and he has no qualms about discarding her like a wilted flower.
What a brutal ending, especially after all the buildup, all the passionate pronouncements.
It is, but it underscores a crucial aspect of Kierkegaard's philosophy. Love for him was a process, an exploration, not a destination. The seducer's goal was not to achieve lasting happiness with Cordelia, it was to experience the intensity of the pursuit, the thrill of the chase, and then move on once the challenge had faded.
And to add insult to injury, he even suggests that the ideal ending would be for Cordelia to think she was the one who broke things off. It's the ultimate manipulation, the ultimate power play.
He's so obsessed with maintaining control, with preserving his image as the orchestrator of his own destiny, that he's willing to inflict further pain on Cordelia to achieve his desired outcome.
So after exploring this complex and often disturbing diary, what are your final thoughts on Søren Kierkegaard?
He remains an enigma, a brilliant and troubled mind whose insights into human nature continue to fascinate and challenge us centuries later. His writing forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves, about love, about the human condition. He doesn't offer easy answers or neat resolutions. He pushes us to wrestle with ambiguity, with paradox, with the inherent contradictions that make us human.
He's not a philosopher who provides comfort or reassurance. He's one who provokes, who disturbs, who forces us to question our assumptions and confront the shadows within ourselves.
And that's precisely why he remains so relevant in a world saturated with superficiality and easy answers. Kierkegaard's willingness to delve into the darkest recesses of the human soul is both unsettling and profoundly necessary.
It's been a challenging deep dive, but an incredibly rewarding one. What do you think, listeners? What aspects of Kierkegaard's diary resonated with you? What challenged you? What questions are you still grappling with? Those are questions worth pondering as we conclude our exploration of the diary of Søren Kierkegaard. Thanks for joining us in Study Hall.